the late 90s, Warner Brothers seemed to be doing okay with their films in terms of box office scores. However, when it came to animated features, they were selling poorly. 1997's Cats Don't Dance is the film to start that trend. It wasn't well advertised or marketed much, which is why a lot of the seats in the theaters weren't taken. However, it became known as an underrated classic. I first watched this film a couple weeks ago by a suggestion from Jackster Does Plotagon, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be ready to review it when the time came. But here we go anyway, let's take a look. The film centers on a cat named Danny who goes to Hollywood with dreams of becoming a big league movie star. It seems like all would be well for the feline, except it's not a fully anthropomorphic world like in Kung Fu Panda or Zootopia. There are actual humans, and the animal actors have to act like real animals in the films, meaning the cats say meow, which comes as a major disappointment to Danny because he would never actually get the lead role. But he manages to gather the other animal actors together so they can all have their chance in the spotlight, and also there's this female cat secretary named Sawyer who becomes Danny's love interest, and she's not interested in him. Gee, how will that go in the end? But in their ways, the film's villain, Darla Dimple, who was created to parody child star Shirley Temple. Right when you start watching this movie, the opening credits are pretty good. It's really creative how it was all put together within the living canvas. The animation is also a good part of the film. It's smooth and has a nice style to it. One issue I have with it is that it goes a little too fast at times. Often, it's synced with the characters speaking quickly. That's another thing. Sometimes the dialogue is spoken so fast you can hardly make out what they're saying. Is it possible that this fast talking might have accounted for the 74-minute runtime this film has? I wouldn't have minded the runtime being maybe a little bit longer, around 80 minutes or something. That would have been appreciated. The characters are a mixed bag. Danny is your basic hero who follows his dreams, facing huge issues along the way. Sawyer is the love interest that doesn't care for the hero at first. The side characters aren't really that memorable. Darla is probably one of the most interesting characters. She's a pretty funny character at times. I especially love her voice when she gets angry. Wooly the Mammoth, who is actually an African elephant by the way, is a side character who came to Hollywood to write and perform music, but ended up being the mascot of the studio Mammoth Pictures, which is an obvious parody of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Yeah, there's a lot of satire in this movie. Especially at the end when they're satirizing a lot of movie posters for real movies that wouldn't come out for decades after the time in which this film was set. But, oh man, one of those posters just happens to be for Batman and Robin, which would come out about 3 months later. Kinda wish the tagline for that one said, "The end of the world is nigh." One thing that actually keeps the movie entertaining is the musical numbers. The songs, which were composed by Randy Newman, are great to hear. Not among the best we've heard in musical films, but we got a lot of good ones. One vocal performance I like is Natalie Cole as the singing voice for Sawyer during the song Tell Me Lies. There's some good creativity within these songs, but I kinda wish we get a bit more of that within the rest of the movie. You know, make it more than just okay. Originally, the film would have been a hybrid live-action CGI film starring Michael Jackson, which sounded like it could have been an interesting idea, but Jackson decided not to have involvement, so we got this instead. A story that could have been further explored, stereotypical characters, yet with some nice bits of satire and nicely composed musical numbers. It delivers a good message to kids about following your dreams, but for regular entertainment it doesn't have much to offer. That doesn't mean I don't recommend it. As much as I disagree with this film being an underrated classic, there are some things you might be missing out on if you pass this one up, so take a look at it if you care for something rather simple.